Welcome back to the From Field to Plate podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Dowdy, and today is a continuation of that summer series cookout. So think about going to a cookout and talking to the guy at the grill. That's what we are doing in this entire series for the summer. We've talked to some amazing high-end chefs. We've talked to some amazing at-home chefs, and today we're going to talk to a guy who kind of started at home and said, you know what, I'm going to do this bigger and better, and kind of went. And it's cool for me because I've watched the progression. On social media, we've been friends together with a company called PS Seasonings. And so to watch, you know, my next guest take it from, hey, this is what I'm doing on the weekends to, hey, I'm going to open a restaurant has been pretty darn amazing. So without further ado, Jeremy Platt, thank you for coming on. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into just chit-chatting and having a good conversation.
First off, thank you for inviting me on. Really excited about it. It's actually my first podcast.
Yeah,
so,
well, you're welcome.
Let's go ahead and knock this one out of the park. I actually am doing another one tonight, but you're first, so I'm pretty excited about that.
You'll always remember your first, always.
Absolutely. So my name is Jeremy Platt. I'm a chef and owner of Platt Daddy BBQ. What started as just a guy having fun, throwing pictures on Instagram, 8, 9, 10 years ago, to catering for my best friend's his sister. She was getting married. She said, "Hey, Jeremy, I know you cook for us in the backyard. We have a great time. You're really good. What would it take for you to cook our wedding?" And I'm like, "Big enough smoker to cook for your wedding." So I looked up, found a smoker that was going to be sizable enough for me to cook for her wedding. 250 people was my very first wedding. That's how many people she did. And so I just charged her the amount of what it was for that wedding. In hindsight, she got one hell of a deal.
Right.
So bought that smoker, cooked it up, did that wedding, and it went out. It just went flawlessly. I don't think to this day I've cooked a smoother wedding. It just, nothing went wrong. It just went flawless. We booked probably 3 or 4 weddings off of that. And then boom, Platt Daddy BBQ started with our catering business. And that kind of, kept growing. My wife and I were social workers. We had a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and just life was absolutely insane. So, what I like to call it is when we after 6 years of catering, we got to that point. We're way up here with the catering. We have 2 kids. We're both in social work. It was when I have these conversations, I call it. It was my shit or get off the pot moment. We either need to take the next step or we need to scale back because. But the biggest non-negotiable for me is family, and I'm not willing to sacrifice family time for my benefit or other people's benefits. My goal is to always be the best father and the best husband I possibly can. So I couldn't keep on the path we were going and still be able to be the best father I wanted to be. So I said, okay, well, screw it. I quit my job as a social worker for 10 years, and we got a building and we started a restaurant, and it's been an unbelievable journey so far. The restaurant's been open for 13 months now, just over a year. And it's just been an unreal journey. It's been lovely.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I remember when you first, again, we're a part of this group for PS Seasoning, a seasoning company. And I remember you posting like the process of it. And it was fun because I grew up, my background is in restaurants, front of the house, training, opening restaurants. And so it was fun to watch somebody go through all of those aspects of, from picking out tables to picking out, napkins and picking out. And it was fun for us to watch on that other end because we're sitting there going, and in that group, there's a lot of people who are just backyard barbecuers.
Yeah. A lot of talent.
And it's fun to get on there. And, sometimes when we're doing contests and stuff, I feel really bad for some of us that are posting pictures, and I'm like, oh, this person's using like an iPhone 5. And we're out here with like professional camera gear, taking pictures of food and stuff. But it was really cool for me to follow that journey, and watch you kind of go on that journey with you, even though we were, I'm in California and you're in God's country. So kind of talk about the grand opening, talk about all the things, all the time, everything. Cause I've done like 13, 14 grand openings for restaurants, but I've never done it where it's my restaurant. I've always done it for somebody else. So kind of talk about the the feelings and where you were at that moment, you know, where it's like, hey,
Absolutely.
we're gonna open the doors, we're gonna train, we're gonna do fill in A, B, and C, you know?
Yeah. So grand opening. Oh man. You know, with it being yourself, you're invested on an emotional level more than you ever would be with any other restaurant. And I was, you know, honestly, I'm in the kitchen getting ready to open up. We're grinding. I'm excited, pumped up, anxious. And my two of my staff came back in the kitchen and said, Jeremy, you need to get out there to the front door. And so I went out there, man, and there was a line, like holy cow, like a block and a half long. And I had all these things I wanted to say, but like you get in that moment, and like I said, I walked out that door, I just lost words, cried like a little baby. I'm like, babe, to my wife, I'm like, you got this. I can't. I'm trying to talk, but I'm just over here, ugly crying too. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it was, but so it was unreal, man. Our first, you know, a lot, and it happens a lot with new restaurants. New restaurants open up, everyone wants to know what it's about. Everyone wants to get there. My first 3 months, it was like that almost every day. Like I thought, like, you know, that was Saturday, it's the grand opening, cool. And then we open up the next week on, you know, Wednesday or Thursday, and I figured like, okay, you know, it'll just kind of be steady. There was a line just as long that day. I'm like, what is this? Like, don't you guys have jobs?
Yeah.
But it was unreal, man. So the like first 3 months, we were probably sold out every day in a matter of 3 hours. It was silly. It doesn't matter how much I would cook. These people showed up and they showed out, and it was so insane, so crazy.
That's awesome. And that's what, you know, I opened up a barbecue place for a company doing kind of like front of the house development is what I would do. So I would write training programs and help development for front of the house staff. And I remember it was one of those deals too. It's like, unlike other things, you can only prep and cook so many ribs, so much, you know, so much tri-tip, so much brisket, so much. It's like, people didn't realize it wasn't like going to an Applebee's, right, where you just got unlimited amount, and it's like, hey, we're sold out. It's like 3:30 in the in the afternoon, and we're like, we're done with ribs. They're like, we'll cook more. That's not.
It doesn't work like that, brother.
It's not like I can just whip up a biscuit and throw it in there. Like this, you know, it takes 8.5 hours for us to do these ribs the way that it's supposed to be done. So, kind of talk about those challenges, you know, in the beginning, or even how you are now, because it does slow down. And so, how are you gauging, you know, your prep lists? How are you gauging kind of all those things for people that are maybe thinking about starting a restaurant? Because again, I've been there since I was 16 years old, and I quit the restaurant industry 15 years ago. I walked away because of the same exact factors that you had, where I want more time with my family. I mean, I was working 14, 15-hour days, and finally I was like, this is no, you know, like I haven't done a Mother's Day since I was 16. So what is the kind of the process that you go through to gauge how many ribs or whatever you're doing for the day?
I mean, there's definitely a learning curve. I mean, I also change my menu every single month. So then it's like there's a new learning curve every month. So the first week, is kind of a trial and error type thing. You then see, you know, like this month, my smoky Cuban is my number one seller. So after that first week, I was able to see like, all right, this smoky Cuban is going to go crazy. So I need to have more bread, more Cuban bread for this. I need to have more sliced ham for this, yada, yada, yada. So that first week is kind of your learning curve. I'll cook a little bit over just to try to figure it out. And then the following weeks, I know exactly like this is probably what we're going to go through. It doesn't matter how much burn-ins I cook. I sell out of burn-ins every single day. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So I mean, I could cook, you know, 50 pounds. I can cook 100 pounds. It doesn't matter. We're going to go through it. We're going to go through it, and we're going to rip through it. And that's just, you know, people have learned like if you want burn-ins, you had better get here early. And then I do my burn-ins a little different, and I source quality meat, like a lot of, you know, most people would do. But
just keep talking. I gotta plug in this light.
oh, okay, sorry. But No, so like I said, the learning curve on the as to how far or how much you cook, and like you said, that's a lot different the first 3 months as opposed to where we're at now. Like I said, the first 3 months we were selling out by 2:30. We're supposed to be open until 8 p.m. So now we get kind of similar numbers. It's not happening all at once. It's spread out throughout the day.
Sweet. No, sorry, my light just went out, and I was like, "Oh, what went on? Like, why is it so dark in here?" But,
I was wondering what's going on, but it's all
yeah,
good.
that's why I was like, "Just keep talking." Don't worry, I'm gonna keep this in because people need to realize that stuff happens.
No shit.
No, but I think that's awesome that you can figure that out, and that because you don't have a background. You have a background in social working.
Yeah. So really how barbecue started with me, and like you said, yeah, social work is my background, but in seventh grade, long ago, two significant things happened in my life. One, my house burned down, and two, my parents divorced. um, when two large big things happen like that, some things kind of slip away, and I think family meals was one of those things that slipped away, that just came kind of non-existent at that moment. Um, I also am and was, and probably one of the most ADHD kids you can possibly meet. So I can, I'm bouncing everywhere. But I found, like I said, when those kind of home cooked meals kind of started fading away, and I started cooking for myself, I found my outlet. I, it didn't really matter. I like to compare it to that movie. I believe it's For Love of the Game. When he's on a pitcher's mound and he gets ready to pitch, he says, "Clear the mechanism." And when he says clear the mechanism, he goes into that tunnel vision, and
Right.
everything just goes away. That's me in the kitchen. So I found it didn't matter what was going on, whether I was struggling with, my parents split up, schoolwork, because I wasn't necessarily the best school student either. That was all gone. When I was in the kitchen, it was just me in the kitchen. I was in my space. I was happy, and you could be in my ear calling me every name in the damn book. It doesn't matter because I am where I needed to be in that moment, and it was all gone. So that carried on through high school. When I was in college, I did sue for about a year at a country club. But graduated college with my first paycheck of my social work job. I bought my first smoker. It was an Oklahoma Joe smoker, and the good old Oklahoma Joe is a great smoker to
Yeah,
start
right.
off. But
That's what everyone always starts off with, something from Walmart or something from Home Depot, like that.
yeah, it was low. It was low for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all
But
the same, right? Just whatever you
yeah,
can
for
afford,
sure.
the one under
But
$100.
I love that's where I started, and I love even more looking back at pictures of stuff I cooked back then when I first got that smoker, and I thought my shit didn't stink. I'm like, golly, that looks terrible, Jeremy. You thought you were cooking good food? That looks like
Yeah,
shit.
I was just telling somebody yesterday about that. I said, when I left my job, gosh, yeah, almost 15 years ago, to pursue, well, 10 years, because anyway, yeah, 10 years ago I quit my job. This July it'll be. But I look back at pictures that I was taking 15 years ago when I was like kind of starting, this whole thing, and we're using an iPhone 3. We're taking pictures of food. We're taking whatever, and I'm looking at the plating. I'm looking at all this other stuff, and I was posting it online like, dude, it's probably the same thing you
Look
like.
at what I just
Oh
did.
my gosh, I just burnt the crap out of this chicken. Check it out, and or look at these venison nuggets that I made, and I put brown on brown on brown on a plate, and you go back and look at it. It's like, why did anybody ever start following me? Why did any
Right.
company ever take anything into me? When you look at what I was putting out, but it's also those humble beginnings. You kind of go back and look at sports stars and look at them, go back and look at Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire before they started taking roids. Like, they were these skinny little nothing dudes who weren't hitting bombs.
Mhm.
And then of course they take the juice, and next thing you know, they're these ripped dudes hitting bombs. It's funny to look at the juxtaposition between where you started and where you are.
Yeah, I love that I went through that though, because you look back at it now, and like I said, when I was at that point in life, I thought like, gosh damn, I'm doing pretty good. But then I look at it now, and I'm like, look how far we came. But at the same time, also, I'm only 33 and I got so much more ahead of me. I can't wait to look back at this moment right here in 10 or 15 years. Like,
Yeah.
where am I going to be in 10 years? If that's where I was 10 years ago, this is where I am now. There's so much room for growth. And that's why, like, you hear people use the term like pit master and stuff. I don't know where you stand on that, but I don't want to stop learning.
Right.
Like for you to consider yourself a pit master, I feel like if you're a master of something, you don't really have anything else to learn.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to stop learning. I want to continue to get better and better and better. And it's just the whole process. It's beautiful, man. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful process.
My grandpa used to always tell us growing up, and I use this all the time, even to my daughters, is if you're not learning, you're dead. And so the moment you stop learning is the moment you die. And that's really kind of how I base everything that I do. I'm 41 years old, so I've got a little bit on you. And it's the same thing to this day where it's like, if I find something that I'm curious about, I'm going to bug the crap out of everybody around me because I'm going to study that so much. Like to the point, to the point where we're driving in the car, my daughters and my wife's like, we don't care anymore. I'm like, well, yeah, but I was looking at this and didn't research this. And then I did. They're like, okay, great. No problem. But that love for, I was that kid that was going to the library in second grade to get a book on birds so I can memorize every single bird in the U.S. And I'll still drive around. I'm like, oh, that's that. Or a bird's flying, and I'll call it out. My daughter's like, how do you know what bird that is, Dad? I'm like, because I was a bored homeschooled kid in California. But that kind of takes it on into the culinary world for me as well. I want to learn about every single culture, about every single food, about every single, I'm allergic to so many foods that I have to get so creative in what I do that it really kind of takes it outside the box. And again, if I stopped learning, it would just be, spaghetti and hot dogs every single night for dinner. So
right.
I think that's huge. And man, I posed this question to another chef the other day, and I'll ask you too. Do you think that being non-classically trained as a chef, because I'm going to call you a chef because you are in control of a kitchen and in control of food. Do you think that being non-classically trained allows us to be more open and free as chefs, that we don't pigeonhole ourselves into a box? Or do you feel that like you wish you learned more and were better at certain things?
No, I mean, I absolutely wish I would have and learned more, but also we're meant to mess up. I'm okay with that. I messed up here at the restaurant. I messed up here at home. That's how we learn. But obviously, I mean, it would have been nice, and I really did want to go to culinary school, and I actually took it upon myself to, apply and everything. I was in college, but college paid for me, so it would have been silly for me to drop out of
and then
college
drop $100K on how to cut
yeah,
mushrooms.
Yeah. So, like I said, that was my outlet, and I just got in the kitchen and I cooked and cooked and cooked. And I cooked for friends, and like I said, you mess up a lot of stuff. You learn a lot of stuff. You go around other people that cook. You see what they do. You learn from them. So maybe I'm not classically trained, but I've had my fair share of run-ins with people who have been able to teach. And like I said, I'm still learning right now. I have a Korean fusion restaurant next to me. Love the dude that owns it. He teaches me stuff all the time.
Yeah.
He just, this little Asian guy teaching my, white ass try to do this Korean fusion stuff.
This is called spice. So cool, enjoy it.
Yeah. So it's nice to be surrounded by a lot of people in the field right now. And where I'm at, people are very well connected and are willing to step out and help each other out. And I've learned so much from my neighbors. Like I said, I have a farm to table restaurant on one side, and then just around the corner is the Korean restaurant. We get together all the time. Every Tuesday we go and we have lunch in one of our kitchens. We talk about, what's going on with our restaurant. Are we struggling with something? We'll talk about, maybe a new menu we're going to drop. How do you feel about this? And, what should I add? I need some acidity in this dish. what would you recommend for my acidity? We all work together to try to help each other out. There's enough room for all of us to grow and push each other to be better. So there's no time to, push other chefs down. Competition is good.
Yeah.
But we can still be competitive and be friends and work together and push each other, because if one of us can succeed and we can push each other, we can all succeed.
No, for sure. So let's kind of go back to kind of the restaurant and yourself. What is that one item that's your absolute favorite thing to cook, and that one item that you, even though you change the menu, like that's what you're going to keep on?
Yeah. So, like I said, we change the menu every month, though there are three things that always stay on the menu. One, like I said, those burn ends. Those never leave the menu. We sell them every day. We use 100% grass-fed beef, no antibiotics, no added hormones, no BS, just clean beef the way it was supposed to be years ago. And we get that locally. We're pretty fortunate to be able to have that source right here in our backyard. That source is U.S. Wellness. They're really big in the Northeast, and they do great stuff. Another thing that stays on the menu is our smoked fried wings. I never planned to keep these on our menu. It was something I did our first month, and I'm like, okay, everyone does wings. Wings and burgers, you can get them almost anywhere. So I'm like, I don't want to do the same stuff then. Like, that's really important to me. It's like, I want to set myself apart. Did these wings, they absolutely went crazy. So I kept them on. I decided to keep them on the menu. We were open for 4 months, and we got voted best wings in the city. So I'm like, okay, well, these obviously cannot go anywhere. And then the last but not least, the third item that always stays on the menu is pulled pork sandwich with, our sweet pepper slaw, Dijonnaise, as you call it, our Sammy sauce, but it's Dijonnaise, and then barbecue. Something classic on there. Everything else gets changed. I will say my best selling item for 1 month ever was a brisket Frisco sandwich. Unreal. It took off way more than I ever thought it would. And that was homemade sourdough that we got from the bakery next door, the farm to table restaurant. I get all my baked goods from them. My sourdough, my rye bread, biscuits, English muffins. Comes right next door. They bake them fresh for me every morning. Sourdough bread, chopped brisket, caramelized onions, American cheese, that Frisco sauce, and tomato, and toasted on the griddle. That went insane, and so I started doing like a Frisco series. So like every 2 months, I do a different Frisco item just because they sell so well.
Yeah.
The Frisco mac and cheese. I did Frisco fries. I may or may not be doing a Frisco dog next month.
Oh, nice.
Like the Frisco series has become a thing of its own. So we're going to continue to build. As long as they're tight there, I'm going to shove it down their throats until they don't want to know more.
Yeah, well, that's the motto and method of business is do it till it don't work no more. And then
I'm called the Morgan Wallen effect.
Yeah.
We're just going to drop a different album every other week until they're tired of us.
Yeah, and they all sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
But hey, we still listen to it, which is stupid of us. But I actually did write this down as one of the questions I want to ask you because I'm big on it, and then you said it. So why do you feel so strongly about that? I call them the no foods, like the no GMO, the no pesticides, the no antibiotics, the no fill in the blank. Like, why do you feel, I mean, I know why I feel passionate about it, but in my house, we call them the no foods. And so, like, why are you so passionate about those no foods?
Yeah, well, I'll try to not go on too big of a rant here.
Oh,
but,
rant away, man. We got. Who cares? People will listen.
Well,
and if they don't, we'll shove it down their throats till they don't want to listen anymore. We just talk.
Yeah. Well, I think we can all agree that it's getting harder and harder to trust the government and big pharma and everything and what they're putting in our body. There's a lot of sketchy stuff out there. They're pumping meat and everything full of all kinds because they want more meat, bigger meat, faster.
Yeah.
And so they pump it full of all kinds of bullshit. And it's just, and I think we're in a time now that people in America are more self-conscious of what they're putting in their body than they ever have been. And that starts with like, our veggies and with everything. It's hard to get a real good premium healthy product. And there's a reason. behind that. So when I met John Wood, that's what he's combating. He is, trying to put this premium product out there, this healthy product, because keto's blowing up. Carnivore, I love carnivore. Carnivore's blowing up. These are the basis for those diets. Having that clean beef, that clean just chicken, all that. So when I saw that they were doing this, and we figured out a way for him to meet my demand, it was a no-brainer for me. Additionally, like I said, I do my burn-ins a little different. I don't cook full briskets. All right. I do just points.
Okay.
I want everyone is out there doing full briskets, doing slices. Slices are good and fine. Everyone's doing them. I wanted to pick that one thing, and I wanted to be really damn good at it. And I wanted to have my niche, and I wanted to be confident that I'm putting out one of the best products you can get out there. So I cook just points. I love that because I don't have to cut that to separate the point and the flat. I'm able to build that bar through the whole process. I don't have to cut it, season it, do all that. It's being built to be the most perfect product throughout the whole process. And as far as I know, not many people source points. I mean, before I got to hook up with US Wellness, I was working with, Cisco, which is a big distributor, US Foods, Kohl's, which is a huge distributor down here. No one could really find that product or give me the correct product. They kept trying, and I just got sent a bunch of terrible, terrible products. Got hooked up with John. It's, like I said, it's a great product. I have consistency throughout everything, size, everything. They're perfect, and it's been a blessing to have a partnership like that.
Yeah, and I think when we look at kind of what you were saying about this, what's putting into our body, it's funny growing up. I mean, because you said you were 33.
Yes, sir.
So you still have been around like I have. You kind of lived through those times when cell phones were just starting, and there was how many people did you know that were dying of cancer when you were growing up?
I mean, it's like that's the only thing that people die from.
But maybe a handful of people that died of cancer growing up, and it was like lung cancer because they were smokers, or cirrhosis because they were alcoholics. It was or maybe a random breast cancer, right? But it wasn't a thing. These ADHD and autism thing was never a thing. You look at the way that just people in general are thinking and lethargic, and men becoming, there was never this whole movement of wanting to be a different gender, or there was that random weird kid that was like, I'm a donkey, but there was never, it was never this thing. And all of a sudden you look at the influx of fake food in the mid 2000s, right?
Yeah.
It was after 9/11 effect, where it was all this influx of faster. It's sort of looking at like World War II when they started introducing all the fake butters and stuff, and all of a sudden you see cholesterol rise. You see heart attacks were never a thing until cholesterol.
Absolutely.
Until the introduction of margarines and fake butters and fake fats, right? Fake oils, and using motor oil to now cook our food. And you look at all these different things, and it's like, okay, well, there was never heart disease. There may have been one or two, but there was no need for an organization like the Heart Association.
Absolutely.
And you look at all these things, and it's like, okay, well, that was the big push then. Now, after this 9/11, after this mid 2000s, with the introduction of faster, quicker, more food, more boxed, more don't eat on the outside of the grocery store, eat in the middle because mom and dad don't have time. So here's a box of mac and cheese and some frozen nuggies. You start to see more and more kids get impacted. You start to see more and more families get impacted. You start to see people that are younger than me start to have colon cancer and are passing away at 30 years old because that never happened. Right. And so for me, this idea of food and the no foods is powerful. I was reading a study by this microbiologist, this microgut biologist, and he was saying that the process of autism, let's just put that out there, or or ADHD or nut allergies, no one was allergic to peanuts growing up. No one was allergic, there was that random kid that would get the farts because of dairy, but you look at all these different things and it starts like a generation before, 2 generations before. So you look at what our parents were eating, actually changed our DNA into what we are. And then my wife was eating whatever she was eating is now changing the DNA in my daughter. So my daughter she has to change now before she's even thinking about being a mom to reset her body so she doesn't pass on that gene to. It's like it's mind-blowing to think that people are so easy, just like, hey, go grab a box of fruit juice that's littered with every single chemical and color that you can think of.
Yeah, I say that red dye is a big, huge one. Just the dyes in general, they're in virtually everything, it seems.
Well, and for me, so back 15 years ago, 2007. So I don't know, maybe even longer than that. I'm not good with math. End of 2007, beginning of 2008, that's when I developed my beef allergy. So all of a sudden, I was born and raised a beef guy, worked at restaurants that sold burgers, that sold high-end steaks, that beef ribs, eating all that crap. And then all of a sudden, boom. And no one knew why, right? Like I was literally the second case in the US of people that were like allergic to the fats and the enzymes within bovine, so within cows and stuff. You start to look at what they started putting into those cattle and what they started putting into the feed. And okay, so we went from grass-fed finished to corn and meal finished. We looked at, you start to look at the history and the mechanics behind our food. And it's like, oh, I get why all of us are getting sick. I get why all of us are dying at a younger, I get, oh, it makes sense to me. But you say that, and all of a sudden you got to put on a tinfoil hat, and people are like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're this. I'm like, prove me wrong, right? Like when I became allergic to beef, we went full whatever I kill, whatever my buddies kill is what we're eating, right? And all of a sudden I watched my health change. I watched my family's health change. I started watching those people around me who started eating what we were eating change. Now, again, I'm in Southern California, so I was the weird guy who has 3 freezers in his in his garage that are full of elk and deer and turkeys and ducks and all the fish, because we're on the Pacific Ocean, so we can go down and catch anything we want. And then all of a sudden you start to watch this change. We got rid of all the fruit snacks in our house. And people were like, you guys are crazy. Your kids need that. My kids started learning. They started learning more. They started listening more. It's sort of like, it's that fast food mentality, right? Like, how fast can we get it so that we can go home and sit on our phones and not talk as a family and hang out? It's just, I don't know. I'm very, very passionate. I don't know if you can tell about what goes in, about food that goes into my body. And that's one of the reasons that I am with the seasoning company that you and I hang out with, is because I'm allergic to sunflower seed oil. That's another one of my big ones. You look at every single spice and seasoning out there, they're going to sunflower seed oil because it's cheaper for them to put in, but it's one of the worst. It's one of the worst oils for you. And PS Seasoning has kept that out of all of them. And so I can actually use all their seasonings and love all their seasonings because of the fact that it's not going to make me puke my guts out and feel like crap for the next 3 days just by putting on a brisket rub, right? And like you, probably like me, where we get sent so many things to try. And I literally look at the back, or people are like, hey, I want you to try this. And I was like, send me the ingredient list. Oh, it's all clean ingredients, dude. You're going to love it. And I'm like, well, no, I'm good. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So, but I don't know what you and I probably have the same feelings on that, but I have read so many books and so many things about.
Since I've made that change, it's been unreal for me. Like, I did 3 or 4 months, 3 months in of carnivore. Transformed me. It made me sharper mentally, physically. My morning aches and stiffness with my ankles and knees have gone away. This past November, I tore my knee to hell. I'm like, okay, well, we got to make some changes here. And since I started that, it's really been unbelievable. I dropped 40 pounds like so quick. And then, like I said, this morning, even my allergies Like I don't understand that. My allergies have gotten better.
Yeah. Well, you think about what it's funny because in this article, this person was talking about this microbiology stuff. It was like everything starts in your gut, right? A proper gut health is a proper body health. And a lot of us don't, we think of like, oh, strong heart, strong. If your gut's not healthy, your heart's not healthy. If your gut's not healthy, your chest isn't healthy. If your guts aren't healthy, your muscles aren't going to be healthy. And so you get all these people who are telling you to eat healthy, and then you see what they're putting into their body, and you're like, okay, that protein powder that you just downed in the morning has 500 ingredients. How is that? Well, it's good for you. It's protein. It's powder. Okay, I can go and pull out a chunk of venison, eat that for breakfast, and feel amazing all day long. And I won't even have to eat lunch because my body is still full from that. And then I eat a big, huge dinner, and it's like, yeah, like you're saying, you're losing weight, you're feeling better, you have more energy. And then those people that take those powders, they have this huge crash. And it's like, we've been fed so many lies when it comes to food that it's just, again, I could talk for 700 hours on that aspect. So, but let's get back to this. So do you make all barbecue sauces in house? If so, like what's your go-to barbecue sauce?
So sauces, seasonings, all the above. It's gotten to the point now. Sauce is the hardest thing to keep up with for me. My seasonings, I have a co-packer. So I have a signed contract, non-disclosure, and all non-compete, all that fun stuff with a company out of St. Louis. They make it in bulk for me, and then they send it to me because obviously I don't own a giant spice company. What would cost me $10 to $15 a pound to make, send to them. I get it made in 50-pound batches. It's a few dollars a pound.
Yeah.
My sauce, I would love to get my sauce on the market, but the minimums for sauce are silly. They want to. I mean, most of these people want a 500-gallon minimum order for sauce, and that's just out of my tax bracket. So I try to keep up with it. If I can't keep up with it, I mean, I have some backup plans, but for the most part, we just try. We do everything in house here, from all of our sauces, our barbecue sauce. I mean, I have a sauce for almost everything. For every sandwich, there's a different sauce. For my French fries, I have fry sauces. My sweet potato fries, I have a maple bacon aioli I make. I have a really busy time making sauces. Those are probably my most tedious things to make. Are all my different sauces, right. And my wing sauces, all that fun stuff.
No, I remember getting to the restaurants at 4:00 in the morning to just prep sauces and dips. You're going, oh my gosh, if I had to mix one more batch of fire roasted tomato sauce, but that's awesome, dude. Well, I know you got to get going here soon, so I'm going to jump into these 5 questions that were posed by the internet world. Answer them how you want to answer them.
Absolutely.
And they're all based around this whole idea of the Summer Series Cookout. So question number 1, what is your go-to / favorite dish to bring to someone's cookout? You're invited to a cookout. What is that one dish that you're bringing?
I mean, previous years I would have told you ribs. I may have told you brisket. Now I'm probably going to tell you pork belly. It's something I've had a lot of fun with. Tremendous products, really not too crazy hard to make. And when I do that, I do whole pork bellies. I dry it out, salt it, get a good crispy crust on it, cook it, and then dice up in little cubes and fry it and throw some Mike's Hot Honey on them. And perfect, simple, easy.
Anything pork is a go-to. Do you have a funny or memorable cookout memory from the past? So think about growing up, think about friends, think about older. Like, what is one of your go-to memories or favorite memories from a cookout?
Well, I'll tell you something that I used to do that I cannot do anymore now that I own a restaurant is just hanging out in the backyard with the boys, shirts off in the sun, throwing down some beers. Those were the great times, let me tell you. Just the boys. And like I said, that's how I got I catered my first wedding. Yeah. Me and the boys hanging out, in the backyard. Like I said, shirts off, getting sun, drinking beers, listening to music, being stupid, just doing stupid stuff. Those are moments I'm not going to get back. I'm fine with that. It's all part of my journey, but I think if I was outside on my smoker here at my restaurant with my shirt off and slamming beers, there might be some people that would frown upon that.
But there might be those people that are like,
that's my guy.
That's my guy. All right. So what are some essentials or must have if you're going to someone's cookout? So from a drink to a tool to a whatever, what are some essentials for cookouts?
A thermometer
Hey,
for
preach it,
sure.
preach it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another rant. All the cooking for time, all that. It's all about temperature, man.
Oh, I
Temperature,
preach
temperature.
it, preach it to the choir. I tell people all the time because it's temp, not time.
Yeah,
And
I get
people,
people mess me. Hey, man, I'm cooking a brisket this week.
how
About how
long?
many hours do you think
Yeah.
that's going to take? I think stop, buy yourself a damn thermometer, and just yeah. So
So
thermometer easily my number one thing.
I did eight pork butts for church. They're doing the summer kickoff for the junior high and high school. They're like, hey, can you smoke pork butts? Sure, no problem. I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be hunting. I leave for Texas tomorrow. But I smoked them all so I could deliver them Sunday, and I said, I just vacuum seal them, like just throw them in boiling water. They'll reheat inside of, like we have a sous vide type thing at church.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I put them on, and four of the 8 hit temp just like they were, right? Boom, 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 boom. 4 of them stayed at 180 when the other ones were at their 205, 206, right? Those 4 cooked another 8 hours at that temp to reach their temperature. And so if you tell someone, oh, it's going to take anywhere between 8 to 16 hours, they're like, what? How's it going to double? Who knows? I've had a pork butt low and slow take 22 hours to reach that temp, and it was phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm a big, big advocate, especially with wild game. When I talk to people, they're like, well, I don't know, when it's done is what I was saying. Well, how long? Well, when it's done. Well, yeah, but how long is that when it's done? So I'm glad you said that because
yeah, most essential is definitely a thermometer, a good knife, some gloves, and some bar towels.
Yeah.
That's my essentials right there.
I have a box of bar towels because you'll go through like 7, 8, 9, 10. And the cool thing is you can buy a bag of them at Costco for like $8. It's stupid. So, all right, what is your go-to side dish for a summer cookout?
Yeah, so probably elote, man. To be honest, I have two. I'll give you two. The elote, I do like a decomposed, like off the cob, fire roasted, peppers, onions, a little mayo, a little queso fresco, lime juice, a little bit of a fermented jalapeno sauce. That's a big one, and it's also very popular here. Another one I love to do is like a roasted red potato, diced red potatoes with peppers, onions, garlic, butter, a little bit of lemon pepper seasoning. Those are my two go-to. Especially if I'm going to a backyard barbecue, those are definitely something. I mean, I would prep a foil pan, throw them on the grill, little those potatoes, a little cheese on at the end to finish off. Two simple things that are just great.
I think one of the best part about doing this series for me is every single area that people are from, they have a different side. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, talking to a guy yesterday from Georgia, completely different sides. I talked to a amazing chef out of Colorado, completely different sides. I think it's awesome that like where your culture is like the sides that like people are going for, which I think is rad. So, and
the thing is, around here in this area, most people are just meat and potatoes. They're simple, used to their grandma making them the most dried out pork chops ever. So it's also been fun trying to transition people into trying new things.
Yeah.
And that's why, the big motivation behind my menu and why I changed it and why there's so much crazy stuff on there is I want to show people there's more to barbecue than just a pulled pork sandwich. That's really important to me for, here and, giving something in this small area where they would usually have to go to the city or go down to Texas or go down to Kansas City. You can't get what we're doing anywhere else. And, it's been fun.
No, I think that's huge. And that's the struggle that a lot of us have is trying to teach people it's not the way grandpa did it. Like you're a hunter, I assume, right? Or you're in an area where there's a lot of hunters. I'm a hunter where there's a lot of things. And it's funny because we will want to advance all of our hunting technologies from the weapons we use, from bows to rifles to crossbows, to the ammo we use, to the optics we use, to the scopes we use. But when it comes to cooking, it's like, well, grandpa did it this way. And you're like, yeah, but your grandpa did it wrong. And putting Lowry's, seasoning salts on venison and cooking it well done. No wonder you don't like venison and you grind it all up and you make sausages that you mix with 40% beef. And then it's like, add a jalapenos and cheese so you can't taste it. or you wrap everything in a jalapeno with cream cheese. Like, I get it. Do this and watch it change. So, last but not least, before you can get out of here, what is your number one tip for the perfect burger? This has been my favorite question, because to listen to every single person's tips for the burger, and almost every single person is different, which is fun.
Yeah. My perfect burger has to have that. It has to have a good crust on it, but it also, I'm a medium rare guy. I want some good quality beef. I want it to be red and juicy in the middle, and some people frown upon that, but also, I mean, it's healthier to eat that way, whether you believe it or not. But I like a good juicy medium rare to medium middle with a good, nice salty crust. Like, give me the salt, man. I want a good, crispy salt crust. Tomato, homemade pickle. For the longest time, I've hated pickles, cannot stand them. But like I said, little Asian guy over here at the Korean restaurant, he taught me how to make pickles, and now I can eat pickles, which is so weird because I hate them.
Yeah, but it's also what we talked about. It's that jar versus that fresh, right? So Awesome. Well, I think that's huge, and yeah, and I think every single person has said the same thing. A good ground. Do it yourself or buy a really good ground. Don't go get that sloppy, slimy pack at the grocery store and try to make a perfect burger.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, Jeremy, tell everybody where they can find you on social medias, if they want to come check out your restaurant, fill in all that good stuff.
So just look me up, guys. Platt Daddy BBQ. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. You can go to plattdaddybarbecue.com. We're in Quincy, Illinois at 605 Hamster. Open Wednesday through Saturday. And yeah, man, I would love to meet any of you guys, and I'm always here to talk barbecue. Always here to talk barbecue. I love cooking, and I love helping other people cook and helping other people find their passion. So I'm always here for a conversation. I love a conversation.
Awesome, dude. I really appreciate you being on, and I'm glad we finally got to sit down and chit chat. And next time I am in Misery. I say it's misery because right now you guys are hot, slimy, and
it is. It's terrible. I live in Missouri, restaurants down in Illinois. I'm right on the Mississippi River,
which is even worse because that just means you always are swampy. So anyway, if you guys are down in that area, go check them out. If not, check them out. Platt Daddy BBQ. It is 2 T's on that Platt. So make sure you go check that out. And there's a shirt. I'm going to post some of this stuff. But until then, folks, just remember, if you don't do it, nobody will. So get out there, grab your favorite drink, fire up the grill, and have some fun this summer. Jeremy, thanks for coming in.
I appreciate you, brother.